The internet gave me this gift yesterday, and it goes, here's what's going to happen. People want something fresh. They will try out the game when it launches, and maybe they even will spend a few bucks. But when the honeymoon phase is over, they will see that this game is exactly like all the other South Korean games out there, consisting of daily chores and lottery gameplay to keep up. They'll realize their old game wasn't so bad after all, and quit. Now, let's say this thing, Buzz Killington here is absolutely right. This is going to happen for a wide range of gamers who love the hype. And that's perfectly fine. It's perfectly fine that there's a bunch of gamers who just like to game hop. And that's honestly the way things are for the vast majority of gamers. The way that we play MMORPGs has also changed. It's evolved to some degree, maybe even de-evolved depending on your opinion. But the way we talk about them online really hasn't. The closest way I can actually describe what's going on is that your brain has been hijacked, maybe even hacked a little bit. But we're always seeking out that hit of dopamine to give us that next big thrill. Now, over time, the thing that you love doing is going to actually require you to do more. This is to get your normal hit, so it's natural that over time you're going to grow frustrated that the game you're playing, it isn't necessarily what you're looking for. So yes, there will be a time where Throne and Liberty, or insert any other MMO out there, you're going to find yourself kind of tired of the game. And the flaws that you've ignored during the honeymoon phase will actually become all that you can see. It's kind of like a relationship if you start to really kind of break it down. But here's what's changed. Now we have content creators, streamers, and a concept called drops. Now, for the most part, this doesn't really affect someone like Asmongold. He has ascended the realms, and he doesn't really have to worry much about what he plays. He's more about borrowing, or in his own words, being a vampire, to other people's content to make his own content. And just an aside just on this, the paid and exposure line that some reactors out there, it is absolutely complete BS. I've gone over the math, I've gone over the numbers with you guys before. If you're interested, I'll try to include a link for you. But either way, they either believe that they're selling or they're willfully ignorant of what kind of impact and click-through that they actually provide the original content creator. So if they actually really did want to invite said benefit, they would actually do a collab with them in real time and not just react to their content. But that's my piece saying on that. But let's get back to the core of this video itself. For us normie content creators who are struggling with the day-to-day grind, drops, Twitch drops, these things are golden. These things are absolutely golden. So here's the loop. Here's what has happened because of this marketing. We were talking about Twitch as the focus, but it could really apply to anything else. You get this seasonal loop. The reason why this ends up working is because seasons give you that hit of content, that hit of dopamine with the promise of more to come in the future. So you start naturally saying, you know what, I might check back in the future. You start kind of scheduling your time, and this actually works for the widest range of gamers, not just content creators or streamers, but the widest range of us who go to work, who spend time with our family. And there's also downsides to this. Maybe we'll talk about that here in just a little bit, but it gives you the option because of that to either engage or disengage from that content. But, oh, you might say the game doesn't want you to disengage. Well, I don't think this is really true at all. Like, while the game would probably prefer you sitting there spending money constantly and over again, the subscription model isn't as successful. We have two major games, Final Fantasy XIV and WoW, that still, have that. ESO has an optional subscription, and really the evolution is becoming that of the season pass or the battle pass, that optional subscription that people can choose to opt in, because what we see, what we know from the numbers perspective is, despite how, like, I might personally think a subscription is the best model for me as somebody who consumes a lot of one game for a long period of time, the reality is it ends up acting as a barrier for a lot of players. Trying to sell somebody who's never subbed to just one game that they need to sub to just one game is really, really hard. Once you get them over that barrier, typically it's much easier, but that barrier is being competed against versus free to play and all the other different kind of models out there that gamers are just more like accustomed to. It's less pressure into some degree. But this is also where it actually kind of gets interesting. If you're playing the game and you're not really giving them money, those companies are paying for both those servers, but also the data that is going back and forth. Data isn't free. Some places and ISPs have tried to kind of restrict data, which is a real bummer, but there's an overall general cost to that. If I'm hosting a website, I have to pay for a portion of the data that's actually hitting that website. And so that's essentially one of the things, is that you're actually kind of costing them a little bit of money. So if you're not necessarily having fun and spending money, well, you know what? If you're going to go ahead and take a break, it's not really going to hurt them in the long run, because they're not reliant on your subscription anymore. What they're hoping that you do is you come back for that dopamine hit in every 3 to 4-ish months. If you're a Halo, I guess that's 6 or 8. Who knows with whatever Microsoft's doing with Halo, but that's another rant for another day. So when you put this all really together, game devs aren't so much concerned with you taking breaks. It actually is healthier for you as a gamer to do so. And you start to see, figureheads like Yoshi P encouraging his player base to actually take breaks, because honestly, absence makes the heart grow fonder. That adage really applies to games as services. Now, you might be leaving a game right now and frustrated at that game, and what I just said might not necessarily resonate true to how you feel, but just give it some time. If you let yourself kind of relax into it, there's a reason why ESO releases a yearly expansion. There's a reason why Destiny releases a yearly expansion. With New World releasing their first expansion, it'll be interesting to see how that happens. But that model to be able to re-invite players back in is coupled with this unique marketing strategy that we started this whole topic off on, which is content creators and streamers and drops. That in and of itself is a powerhouse, getting more and more people streaming the game and having those people show up to get that free loot. The free loot to lurk on that stream. Whenever we've had drops over at Work to Game, literally, we've doubled, tripled, quadrupled our numbers, and it feels really good. It's a lot of fun. A lot of people end up chatting, have an opportunity to introduce yourself as a content creator. And what does that do? It advertises the game. It gets everybody streaming it, and everybody start talking about it. And then you, having been now successfully taken a break from the game, might consider coming back. And maybe it's not this season, and maybe it's next season or the following season. What really matters, though, is that the game isn't invisible. And what happens is, and the worst thing to do, and in fact, if you actively wanted to hurt a game, take the Hogwarts Legacy failed boycott, which literally gave that game 200 million in free marketing, and beyond that. Well, if you wanted to really hurt that game, the best thing you do is you just shut up about it. The thing that gets things going and keeps things in that circle of our mindset is people talk about it, but people can't just necessarily be quiet. Gaming is social, especially with MMORPGs. And that's why, there's going to be plenty of hype behind the game. And nobody really wants somebody to come in and try to kill their hype. I think deep down, if we're all honest with ourselves, we know that the hype is going to come, and then it's going to go. And then there's going to be something else to be hyped about. And then that's going to go. And then we might check in with some of our other games. And then we might not. It's just this pattern that, if you're honest with yourself, you'll start to really notice. And that's why I'm not worried about Throne of Liberty. I'm not worried about whether it continues to grow and grow and grow. If it's a free-to-play game, because that's kind of the wildest thing about Throne of Liberty, is we still don't know everything about it. If it's a free-to-play game, it's going to attract a lot of people and a lot of bots. A lot of people try to throw bots as this issue with Amazon against Lost Ark, but it's a free-to-play game. There's no downside for somebody wanting to put a bot into it. That's why I really, really hope that we see more and more buy-to-play games, especially with that aspect, without these subscriptions, because you can purchase the game, and at least if there's a bot, they're somewhat pot committed. There's somewhat risk there to them, and they're kind of funding the game that we're hopefully having a good time with. And so I'm not necessarily worried. It's going to be fun. Stop trying to kill the buzz. Stop trying to worry about these things. You're not going to fix humanity with a weird comment on a YouTube channel. But I do appreciate your comments, and I thank you so much for your engagement. If you guys like it, smash that like button. It's kind of cringe every time I say it, but honestly, I better not say that the rest of that joke. I'll put that over on my comedy channel. It is actually really dirty what happens with it. So if you're curious, be sure to check out the show on the 11th, or check out the comedy channel when I post it over at Ginger Prime Comedy. I'm going to wrap it up there. If you guys made it all the way to the end, you made it to the secret call out. You are legends. Sound off in the comments below. I am legend. And if anybody out there, if you see any just random weird comments, make sure you highlight them, reply to them in a way like say I am legend or something like that, so I can search it. And maybe we'll make some more of these videos talking about Buzz Killington and talking about, because he's not wrong. But at the same time, he's not right either, so it doesn't really matter. Anyway, guys, thanks so much for your time. Hopefully you have a wonderful weekend. Hopefully I'll see you in the next video. But until then, take care.